Welcome back to Timeout with J and G. It's Jay over here. It's G over there.
Yo, what is going on, everyone?
And today we have a fun episode, I guess. It's kind of a bit of a downer with a lot of things to talk about early here. But before we get into all that, how are you doing today, Levi?
I'm doing all right. I'm vibing. Work was easy, not much to do. How about yourself?
Yeah, I don't want to say I had a lot to do today. It wasn't too much work, but I had a lot of stuff to do. Then I went to the gym and I'm home and ready to relax and have a good podcast. So
Hell
we have
yeah.
it's always fun getting on here talking for a while about whatever's going on. And to kind of start into it, Joel Embiid makes his season debut tonight. First game of the NBA Cup. Are you excited?
I am. We finally get to see Joel Embiid play, and hopefully at
Yeah.
above 60%. Hopefully this is hopefully this is Embiid ready to go. You know what I mean? Like 30 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists,
Are you
3
expecting that first
blocks.
game? You're expecting that
No,
first game?
no,
I was gonna say.
no. That's what I want to happen. You know, to kind of Embiid to show he's back, but realistically, to anywhere between 18 to 26 points, 10 rebounds, maybe a block or two.
Mm.
You know, it was crazy that I'm saying that's light for him from what
Yeah.
we're accustomed to. But I feel like that's about what it's going to start with. He could come out and just absolutely just have a monster game, 30 plus points or whatever. But I think it's going to be slowly ramped up as
Now remember,
he plays more.
Tyrese Maxey's not playing, which is we're gonna talk about that more later in the episode. So I am curious to see what they're gonna do with Paul George, like how Joel Embiid and Paul George are gonna kind of mix together because I don't really know with both of their injuries. I don't know if they've even really practiced together much yet. You know what I mean? They might not have much experience at all in the court together right now. So I'm curious to see how that looks.
Yeah, it could have just been mainly like an off-season thing, getting
Well, even then,
reps in
because
here and there. But
Joel Embiid was going through his injuries in the offseason anyway. So you know what I mean? Like
and,
he's been
and,
injured for
and
a
yet
while.
he still was with Team USA.
Hey, he got that gold.
Got that gold
But we've
medal,
been talking
I
about
guess.
Joel Embiid a lot the past two episodes with a lot of the other stuff going on. So I'm excited that hopefully from here on forward, when we talk about Joel Embiid, we're talking about basketball and not other stuff. So hopefully
Hopefully.
it stays like that. And I mean, honestly, now remember, Joel Embiid still isn't playing back to backs. So he's going to come back and it's still only every other game. And honestly, he's got himself a pretty decent start. I mean, they got the Knicks tonight, which should be interesting. He's going against Cat. I don't know how much he's going to get matched on to Cat. It's probably going to be a lot of switching between OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges because I think we all saw the report that right now in the paint, Cat's letting opponents shoot 91% in the paint.
Yeah, I
We
was just
all
about to.
knew. Yeah,
I was.
we all knew
Yeah.
Cat wasn't the best defender, but he had the help of having Rudy Gobert behind him the past 2 years. And now that Cat's been the back line, it's kind of back to what we are used to seeing from Cat defensively. So there's a good chance he has a really, really good game tonight. Unless, like I said, they're probably going to throw some OG Anunoby on him as well, and then have Cat on the backside. We'll see how that goes. And then tomorrow they play the Cavaliers, which he will not play. And the Cavaliers are now 12-0. They're having a great start to the year. Then the next game will be back into the NBA Cup. They'll be playing the Magic, who are without Paolo Banchero. Wendell Carter isn't playing, so might have a good game. Then he misses the Heat game, and they'll be back against the Grizzlies, who, again, later are without Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. So it's like he's got a really favorable start to.
Well, the one thing that he does have to go up against the Grizzlies is a 7'4" monster.
That is going to be fun to see. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
That'll be interesting to see how Embiid takes that matchup if he plays in it, obviously. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes against somebody that obviously is Edie. I don't think has the footwork that Embiid does, but just somebody that's basically like bigger and stronger and has more reach. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, and I'm excited to see Joel Embiid back tonight. I'm ready. We have a lot of people injured in the NBA, which is kind of what I'm about to get into next. So I'm hoping to see some of these guys get back here soon. And like I was saying, a lot of injuries right now. I'm gonna read you. I'm gonna read you out some names, okay?
All right.
Chet Holmgren is now out 8 to 10 weeks at least. They're reevaluating him in 8 to 10 weeks, so he could be out. If you saw, he had that nasty fall against the Warriors and basically fractured his hip. So that's gonna be rough. Shout out Chet Holmgren. Kevin Durant is out for 1 to 2 weeks. He's got his stuff going on. Zion Williamson and Kawhi Leonard are still out indefinitely. We don't know how long they're going to be out for. John Morant is out for another week or two. Paolo Banchero is still out 4 to 6 weeks, and then he's going to get reevaluated. Tyrese Maxey is out 2 to 3 weeks. Scotty Barnes out 2 to 3 more weeks.
Oh
Desmond
my
Bane's
God.
out. Aaron Gordon's out. Jonathan Isaac's out. Just to name a few players. And then even today, earlier today, Jose Alvarado is out for what? I think 4 or so weeks. I pulled up here. The where is that? The injury report for the New Orleans Pelicans right now is interesting. So obviously we know, I'm pretty sure it was like the first night of the season. It was either the first or second game of the season. DeJounte Murray fractured his hand, and he had successful surgery and expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. But that was about 2 weeks ago. So we're still probably looking at almost all but a month for DeJounte Murray to come back. CJ McCollum, right, adductor strain, expect to miss at least 2 to 3 weeks. That was about a week or two ago, so he might be back within the next week or two. Herb Jones, minimum of 2 to 4 weeks after a right shoulder strain and a small, low-grade partial thickness tear in his rotator cuff. Also the same day as CJ McCollum, so we still got a few more weeks for him. November 8th, Jordan Hawkins. Jordan Hawkins will miss 1 to 2 weeks due to a low back strain, so probably about another week or so for Jordan Hawkins. He might be back here soon. Zion Williamson. The Pelicans announced Saturday that Zion Williamson, this is back on November 9th, so yeah, this past Saturday, that Zion Williamson has been diagnosed with a left hamstring strain and will be out indefinitely. Like, they just have no timetable for him right now. Then today, Jose Alvarado is expected to miss 6 weeks due to a hamstring injury.
You can't make this shit up.
I've never seen a team so cursed with injuries like this. Listen, spoiler, I guess by the time you're seeing this video on Wednesday, my video on my channel, I did a Pelicans rebuild. It's going to come out on Wednesday at 9 a.m. And you're going to see this at Wednesday on 3 p.m. So by the time you're seeing this, that video will be out. So check that out. I rebuilt the Pelicans, and because they're just like they're just insanely injured right now, and it seems like, I kind of made a comment in my video, and I'll kind of reiterate it here on the podcast. I like the players on the Pelicans, but I don't like the Pelicans, and I'll kind of explain what I mean by that. It's kind of a backwards thing, but like it makes sense if you let me explain it.
Okay.
I'm a fan of DeJounte Murray. I'm a fan of CJ McCollum. I'm a fan of Herb Jones, Jordan Hawkins, Zion, Brandon Ingram. I'm a fan of all these guys. I think they're very good players. Even like Trey Murphy. I'm a fan of all these guys, and I think they're all good NBA players. I don't like them all together on the same team. It just feels like there's a lot of people that are trying to do the exact same thing. There's a lot of people that want the ball in their hands that are trying to get to their spot and trying to get their shot off. And it's like, when you have damn near 4 guys in your starting unit that want the ball to get their spot, it's kind of hard for this team to really do what it needs to be doing. And CJ McCollum has taken strides the past year or two to be a better playmaker because he kind of took over that point guard spot. And DeJounte Murray has been a point guard for a good most of his career. So they're able to help get guys involved. But at the end of the day, CJ McCollum's always been more of a shoot first guy in most of his career. DeJounte Murray, again, he was with the Spurs, so he's been kind of a half and half pass shoot first guy. But again, a lot of these guys don't do a lot without the ball in their hand. So it's like when there's only one basketball and there's 4 of them on the court that want the ball, it just seems like they don't I'm having a hard time. Like, on paper, the Pelicans have a good collection of talent, but it's one of those things where it's just like it doesn't fit actually in real life on the court. It doesn't seem like.
Yeah, no, it's very weird just looking at how they're set up. I don't think there's a lot of continuity with that team because, like you said, like Brandon Ingram is not a catch and shoot type of player. He wants to get the ball, take a dribble or two and then make his shot or drive into the paint. CJ McCollum, we all know how he was with Damian Lillard on Portland. And then obviously Zion's that type of guy where he wants the ball, he wants to get down in the paint. Obviously he can catch lobs, he likes catching lobs, but that's not the main focus of his game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just sucks because it's like towards the end of the season last year they were up at like the 4 or 5 seed, and then they had a bit of a loose streak and fell down into the play-in, lost in a play-in, and it's like at that about 4 or 5 seed with about a month left in the season was the best we've seen this team look. Other than like I think they were a 1 seed the first like 10 games of the season or something like that. Early in the season they were the 1 seed because they get off to a good start and then kind of fell back down. It's just for the talent this team has. I think there's a couple. I think well obviously they've had bad injury luck as a team the past couple of years between Zion being out, Brandon Ingram being out. That's your two best players constantly. One of them, to both of them being injured. It's made it kind of rough for them. And two, I again, I'm a big fan of Zion. I'm a big fan of Brandon Ingram. I don't know at this point in time if either one of them are a won a championship team. You know what I mean? I think Brandon Ingram could be a very good 2 option. And I don't know if Zion, as of right now, does enough to warrant being a number 1 on a championship level team. I don't know. His defense we haven't really seen the level of defense we saw from high school and college in the NBA. His offense, he's very good in the paint. He's shooting a little bit lower this year from the paint. He's not 60+% like he has been in years past. But his offense is not very what's the word I'm looking for? There's not a lot of variety in his offense either. It's pretty much getting to the paint, getting to the basket, and even guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who are one of the best players in the league. Again, he's heavily paint offense, but he's able to take those dribble pull-ups. He's able to be a pretty good passer for his position or for like I guess his ability on a team. So it's like I just look at a Zion Williamson and I'm like, I think a Zion Williamson pairs best with a top level point guard. I think that's what he needs. I think Zion needs to be your number 2 to a top level point guard. And I guess I don't know if maybe that was the idea of bringing in DeJounte Murray, hoping that like obviously DeJounte Murray's not like one of the best in the league, but you're like, okay, we're bringing in an all-star caliber point guard. Maybe not actually an all-star, but he kind of plays at that level at times, and that should help Zion Williamson. And unfortunately, we never really got to see it this season because of the injuries. But I don't know if Zion and Brandon Ingram together as your like 3-4 duo is really enough to carry this team deep into the playoffs.
I'm gonna say this, and I might get some flack for it, but I could
Oh
see
boy.
Zion having a similar career path as Aaron Gordon. You're on a team, you have a little bit of momentum, you might get touched the play-in playoffs, not really get the full way there, and then when you're in the latter of your 20s, go to a contender, take that, kind of like maybe that starting 4 spot, but you take the backseat role, more of a shooter, your defense gets better. You know what I mean? Kind of like that similar arc to where it's like he was kind of like the guy, but then now he accepts that he's not the guy anymore, and he kind of takes that backseat role to try and win a championship.
I guess my problem is that they played nothing alike.
Well, I'm
Like
not saying
they
like the
just
play style. I'm
but
kind of
you
like,
said a guy that can space the floor and play defense, and that's just not Zion. Like that's something Aaron Gordon's been able to do, but that's not who Zion is. You know what I mean? Like I guess that's
give
kind of
it.
like my I just don't think he fits. I don't think he fits the mold at all of Aaron Gordon.
It was more like the kind of like the career thing because Aaron Gordon was the guy for the Magic when he was drafted. And
But
he was
yeah, of course,
prolific
yeah,
dunker and everything. And then, well, a couple years ago, that was when he went to the Nuggets or got traded or
yeah.
signed with the Nuggets, and that's when that kind of went about. But Aaron Gordon, unless I'm wrong, I'm not 100% familiar with his game from the Magic. I don't think he was that good of a 3-point shooter with the Magic.
I I guess my issue with what you're saying is that like I don't see the parallels because their games are nothing alike. And the only parallel that I can like, I'm trying to. I think I understand your sentiment of like it'll take a couple years and then Zion realizes he needs to go to a better team where he takes more of a complimentary role. I understand what you're saying with that. I just think the Aaron Gordon thing is just he's just like they just don't play alike, and I don't think he offers. I don't think he gives you the stretchability and the defense that you're getting from Aaron Gordon. I think he's like I I think it's more likely. I think it's more likely it becomes a Blake Griffin path than it does an Aaron Gordon path. I just I think it's a guy that I don't know. I just don't. It's a tough thing because it's still so early. He's still like what is he like? I don't think he's even that. He's not that old because what 2019.
Yeah, no, he's still
Um,
young.
so it's hard to like put out a. He's 24. Yeah, he just turned
Yeah,
24 back in July. So it's like it's hard to say what kind of career arc he's gonna have. But I just think I don't. I mean, again, then by Blake Griffin, by the time he was an All Star in Detroit, was able to shoot and handle the ball and kind of be a hub on offense and pass the ball. And again, until we see Zion's game move like not consistently, like I think he's always gonna be a threat in the paint. That's where he's the best. But like teams don't guard him outside the paint because he's just not a threat at all.
yeah,
And it's like he's a weird mold where it's like if he's not being dominant in the paint, I'm not really sure where he fits on a team. And he's a really good player. I'm not trying to like, I don't want anybody to take out the idea that I don't think he's a good player. I think he's a great player. I just I don't he's a weird guy to have as your number one because he's dominant, but he's not very versatile,
yeah,
if that makes sense. Like I think
yeah,
he needs the perfect pieces around him to fit. And I think that's what it is. I think he needs the people around him to fit. I don't think he's the type of player that can go into a team and fit, if that makes sense. I
yeah. I
think you
got
need to
you.
build the puzzle around him, not put him in the puzzle. It's kind of a weird way to look at it, but that's what I think.
Like for I shouldn't have said the play style, but it was kind of just more like the career arc. You're the guy for X amount of years on the team that drafted you, and then finally you leave there and go to a contending team
Right.
and take more of a backseat role compared to being the focal point number one type of guy. And
Yeah,
obviously
Andrew
he
Wiggins did it too.
yeah, like in time in the next 5 6 years, Zion could develop a jump shot. He could
100%. Yeah,
he could
100%.
be a like a 35% shooter on like 4 attempts a game. We just don't know until we can't see the future. So
Yeah.
it's just a matter of what Zion can and can't do, and if he decides to be able to take that next step with his shooting.
Yeah. I just don't know really what's next for this Pelicans team. Like do you still move Brandon Ingram at the trade deadline? Like I don't know. I don't. You're in such a weird spot by having this like collection of talent, but like they're always hurt. They're just in a really really weird spot, and it sucks.
And the bad
I don't
part
know.
is you can't. I don't think you can trade CJ because his value is not going to be too high.
Yeah,
And
that's also the
yeah,
other part of it. It's like right now, Brandon Ingram is your best asset to trade because with the injuries of Zion and like that, and I just don't think they're going to trade Zion. Oh,
yeah,
anyway,
no,
like even if
no,
he was healthy, I don't think they're trading Zion. Like it's just you just brought in Dejounte Murray. So you're not trying to break up that. That's also the other thing. They brought in Dejounte Murray, which shows they're still trying to compete with this team.
yeah.
So that's why I'm like, what sense would it make? And again, I'm not a GM, so maybe it does make sense in their eyes. What sense would it make to bring in Dejounte Murray in the offseason to help you get better and then turn around the trade deadline and trade Brandon Ingram? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, in the offseason, we try to get better by bringing in a guy, and then at the trade deadline, we're going to trade our second best guy. I guess it just doesn't really. But then if everybody's hurt, you're going to be bad. Maybe it makes that easier to trade Brandon Ingram. But like, I guess the thought process coming into the season was that they weren't going to trade Brandon Ingram because they're bringing in a guy like Dejounte Murray to help get the team better.
I would say the other aspect it could be is that they brought in Dejounte Murray to take that point guard role and take more of a ball handling role, and then they move on from Brandon Ingram, which then opens up
Mm.
Zion to more touches, more potential points, and then whoever they would bring in a Brandon Ingram trade, and obviously CJ would probably be at the two. Then he would get, you know what I mean. The only aspect I can see is kind of like that, to where like you want Dejounte to be your main ball handler and
Mm.
try and set Zion up, set the other guys up as best as he can, and then move on from Brandon Ingram when the time comes.
Yeah, I also just don't know. I don't know what the market is for Brandon Ingram right now. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's weird.
He's also kind of a strange player in the sense of like he's at his best when he has the ball in his hands, but he's not. Again, like I said, I don't think he's the number one guy. So it's like, what team does he go to, and like, what do you get back from him? What do you get back for him? You know what I mean? Like, I just because like I know I mentioned like the Cavaliers beforehand, but then like now with the way they're playing, I don't think they have any interest in bringing in a guy like Brandon Ingram because he's just going to take shots away from
Yeah.
Garland and Donovan Mitchell. Like I just I
If
don't know right now.
if they didn't have DeMar DeRozan, I would put the Kings in that conversation.
Maybe, but then they have DeMar DeRozan, so it's like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they didn't, I would put the Kings there. But now since they do have him, I don't know if the Kings could trade too much assets, player wise, to the point where
yeah,
they're just gutting themselves and they're kind of relying on their starting five to do 90% of the work.
yeah, because you also got to be able to match contracts with Brandon Ingram. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's not like you can just trade a bunch of bench guys. You got to have contract in there too, and it's like maybe like I don't know the cap situation, but like maybe San Antonio. Maybe they bring in a guy, but it's like I don't. It's obvious that they're not going to be good either this season, so I don't
yeah.
understand the idea of bringing in Brandon Ingram. It's Brandon Ingram's a very strange guy that's going to be on the market, and I mean I guess when it happens we'll see. When and if it happens we'll see, but I don't know. It's a very strange situation down there in New Orleans.
Yes, it is.
I just pray, and this is nothing against New Orleans. I pray they're not bad enough and they end up with Cooper Flag somehow, because just adding him to this team wouldn't make any sense. And next,
No.
as soon as he signs, he's gonna be out for 10 weeks already with something. Because the way they just have bad luck, and
Yep.
it's just I don't know. Yeah, it's gross.
It is gross.
But yeah, I just want to talk about some injuries again. Watching Chet's injury was rough. The way he fell, it was gross. I don't know if you watched that game, but it was. You could tell right away he was in a lot of pain. It just seems like so many people are. I mean, we read it off. Like it's just, I don't know, and it's made the NBA season kind of, what's the word I want to look for? Like underwhelming.
Yeah.
So we have so many people hurt that it's just I don't know. It's been kind of weird to start the year. What have you thought of the season so far?
It's been interesting because I mean, like
Mm-hmm.
in the East, you have two teams that are above 500 right now.
Yeah, yeah,
In the West, almost everyone that is technically like in the playoffs, like the top 10 seeds, are all 500 or better. This is
yep,
very weird, but that kind of just shows the testament that the West is tough. And you're not
mm-hmm.
going to get anything easy in the West, but in the East, I mean, it doesn't help that the Bucks are 2-8 and the 76ers are 2-7.
Yeah.
Does not help at all. But I mean, it's just
But
very.
no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
It's just been especially with the Cavs going 12-0. I did not expect
Mm-hmm.
that to happen. But like
Yeah,
like
no.
like Paulo with his injury,
Mm-hmm.
Magic were on a good run. He was putting up, in my opinion, MVP type numbers. He should be in that conversation. The Knicks are having a little bit of a troubled start. It's not by injuries, it's just trying to get that core to gel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, Milwaukee, Doc Rivers, we went over that so many times.
Yeah, they're just not a good team.
No,
Like
no, they're
you
not.
look, you have Damon Giannis. Other than they don't have much other than that. They really really don't. I don't. And then the report came out that Doc Rivers said he wants to give Bobby Portis the ball more, give more touch to Bobby Portis. Well, I don't know if he's watched Bobby Portis this season, but like I'm a guy that I know we both are fans of Bobby Portis. You know what I mean? Like he's a
Yeah,
funny guy, and when he's playing well, it's a crazy watch. But he has not been very good this season. He's been taking some dumbass shots. So getting the ball in his hands more. Doc Rivers, man, I don't know. I'm not going to go into this whole thing about Doc Rivers, but like he's just I don't know. This Bucks team, even if they had a very good NBA coach, I still don't think they're that great of a team. Like they've came out so much worse than a lot of people expected, and they're just not getting help from anybody. Giannis has been really really good to start the year. Dame's been good, other than like one or maybe two games. He's been pretty good, and they just aren't winning because they have really nothing else outside of that.
they don't have defense for the most part. I mean, you got Brooke
They don't have
Lopez.
defense. They don't have offense.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
team is just
Brooke
in
Lopez.
trouble.
Brooke Lopez is there for defense, but he can't hit a jump shot either.
Yeah,
Yeah. they're.
I this is
I'm watching people throw the ball out of bounds. I'm watching them turn over, like throw stupid passes constantly. It's just, I don't know. There's such a they're not ran well by Doc Rivers in the slightest. But then like the players on the court just aren't playing well. It's but on the other hand, with the East being so bad, it makes a team like Philadelphia really feel like they're not out of it at all.
Yeah,
Because you said they're like what 2-7. They get Joel Embiid back tonight, and about probably you'd say maybe about 2 weeks you get Tyrese Maxey back. You could go on a 5-game win streak and be in the top 4 seed.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Theoretically, yeah.
it's this is one of the best. Like what's the word I'm trying to look for? Now, obviously, it's not a good situation for Philadelphia with all these injuries they've had to start the year. But it's like this is the year to have it because
Yeah.
you get them back we get everybody back within the first month of the season. We could go on a run and be a top seed and nobody would even care because the East is so bad. It's you know what I mean? Like it's not really that big of a deal for them right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the standings in the East, Cavs are in first, 12 and
Mm-hmm.
0. Celtics are in second, 9 and 2. Then you go to the Pacers at 5 and 5, Orlando at 5 and 6, the Nets at 5 and 6, New York at 4 and 5, then Miami at 4 and 5, Charlotte 4 and 6, and it just keeps going down from there.
Yeah.
Like this is I never thought I'd see the day that the 76ers and the Wizards have the exact same record right now.
Speaking of breaking news, we're going to a game.
Hell yeah.
We just kind of figured that out today. We're going to was it December 19th, I think,
I
or
think so.
something like that. Wizards Hornets, which is exactly the same exact game we went to last year. Funny
Yeah.
enough, but one of our friends, coworkers, are going, and kind of we all decided, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah,
They're
let's
both
go.
really bad, so the tickets were really really cheap to get even better season last year. So
And
let's go,
we won't
baby.
be up chilling with the jerseys and stuff hung up at the top of the
Yeah.
rafters.
Hell, I gotta be honest though, it was still really nice. Like
Oh, it
even up
was.
there, it was really really nice because like you could see everything. You know, it was small, but you could see everything. Um, so I'm excited about that. I'm praying, knocking on wood here, the LaMelo Ball stays healthy because he's been phenomenal to start the season, and I really really want to see him play live.
you y'all obviously know I want to see my boy Grant Williams.
Yeah.
Shout out to the man.
Hey, Grant Williams, man, you can't hate him. Well, you can. There's a lot of things to
Oh
hate about, but
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine.
You can hate. Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't say that. You can hate on him, but
um,
he did have that thing with
no,
Tatum. But Grant's my boy. I love Grant.
shout out Grant Williams, man.
Shout out
We,
Grant.
we we got we got love around here for Grant Williams. You got it more than I do, but I respect
Yeah.
Grant Williams.
Hell yeah, we
So
love him.
hell yeah,
Just like we love Bobby Portis, we love Grant Williams, we love Anthony Davis.
that's right.
You know,
Yeah, and listen, we love them, but we can also admit when they do stupid shit. That's the best part about it.
absolutely,
You know what I mean? It's not
absolutely.
blind love; it's real love.
Yep.
So that's gonna do it with the injury talks. And we're gonna jump into Levi's college football report.
Alrighty, so it was a very interesting week 11.
Mm-hmm.
To start off with the games, the game I had being an upset did not come to fruition. Number 23 Clemson at Virginia Tech, they won 24-14. Clemson is now 39-9 following a loss.
Damn.
I don't know if it's under Dabo Swinney all the time, but that says it right there. They don't lose too many games back to back. They came out and showed why they're still a good team, and they still need to be feared in the ACC. Cade Klubnik outdueled Virginia Tech. He went for 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. They also used the run game extremely well with Phil. I can't say his last name. I'm not going to butcher it, but Phil. Shout out to Phil on Clemson. He went for 128 yards on 26 carries. And this game would have been a little bit closer, but Virginia Tech's wide receivers kept dropping the ball in key situations. It sucks, but drops are part of the game. You gotta watch that football into your hands and grab it. Obviously, we are recording this before the new college football poll comes out. I think Clemson will go up to around 20 to 19, somewhere in that range. They're gonna jump up, but not crazy. There were a couple of teams that lost that were around that 19 range, so I do think they're gonna climb, but not a whole lot. On to the next game. Number 11 Alabama at LSU. Number 15 LSU. They just went in and just stomped them mud hole in them 42-13. This was not a pretty game if you're an LSU fan. They just beat them in all aspects of the game. And I remember last episode, you said if you're LSU, you live with Jalen Milroe beating you on the ground. All right?
Yep.
Jalen Milroe ran for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I can say I ate my words,
Yep.
and I'm not afraid to admit it. We
There you go.
make predictions. We're gonna be wrong sometimes. There's no point in shying away from it. I was wrong.
Milroe did go for 109 yards through the air and then 185 on the ground with 4 touchdowns. He had a really good game against the
Yeah.
top 15 LSU team. And apparently Bama was blitzing in the fourth quarter up, like 30.
Yeah.
Like they were blitzing, getting after it. That's crazy, but it's kind of just like in the age of college football with how the committee, looks at everything. You need to put up points against good opponents, even bad
100%.
opponents.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And but Bama's defense, they got 3 turnovers, 1 fumble recovery, and 2 picks. They did get 2 sacks. They're just unbelievable. LSU is probably going to drop around 2022 ish in
Damn.
that area. They're going to drop. I
Yeah.
don't see them dropping out of the top 25, but they will drop. Bama, on the other hand, probably up to around 9, 8 or 9. The committee does love Bama. We've seen that in
100%.
previous years. It's just something that we've gotten accustomed to, even
Mm-hmm.
after Nick Saban has left. But, Bama's probably going to be around that 8, 7 ranking.
Mm-hmm.
But what's your reaction to that Bama game? Because I'm pretty sure we both had that game going a lot differently.
Yeah, it just looked like Bama was by far the better team, and I was disappointed in the game because I was hoping for a good game, and that's pretty much what it was. Like it got to the point where I pretty much stopped watching it because it was like they're just getting Bama's just kicking their ass for lack of better terms, and it just this game went off way earlier than it should have.
Yeah, it did. I thought it'd be closer. I know I even said about the spread being in Bama's favor. I was like, yeah, you're going into LSU at night. I don't see it happening, but I was wrong. I was
Yeah,
wrong.
the NBA ended up on my screen instead because it just
Yeah.
it was just not like it was such a disappointing game, man.
Yeah, it was. Also, my prediction for the college football that's going to about drop in a couple hours, I think Georgia is going to drop to about 12. 12 to
Okay,
13. Miami's going to drop outside the top 15. Brings me on to the
I'm ready
next
to hear
thing.
about it. Yep.
Miami finally lost after
No.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
after the no call against Cal, which should have been targeting, and then the overturned touchdown against Virginia Tech. This loss has been coming, and I'm glad it was Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Um, Georgia Tech beat them 28-23. Cam Ward did play pretty solid. He had 348 yards and 3 touchdowns. But on the last drive of the game, when we thought he was going to have another Heisman moment where he leads them down, scores the game-winning touchdown, he gets strip sacked. And then Georgia Tech seals their win, kneels the ball out. And it's kind of just history at that point. I don't know if Georgia Tech gets ranked. If they do, it's 25.
Mhm.
I don't think they're going to get ranked. But Miami, they better tumble. Which also, you looked like you were going to say something.
No, no, I was just listening. I was pulling up my stats for my next part while you were doing that.
But no, yeah, Miami, my opinion, should have 2 or 3 losses right now. But they finally get their loss. You can call me a hater. You can call me what you want. But I will acknowledge Cam Ward is a really good quarterback in college football. He had a really good game. Just Georgia Tech got to him and got the strip sack. I
Yeah.
said Miami out of the top 15, but you can have your own opinions. Now, now I'm gonna ask you this, Paul, because it's gonna lead
Okay.
in. Now, now I'm gonna save this for right now when I get into my college football poll predictions
Okay.
for tonight. But no, the lone game we really have today that's going into next week is number 5 Tennessee at no, number 12 Georgia. That's just my predictions for what the rankings are going to be. But Georgia is a 10-point favorite as of when I wrote this down. What do you think? Do you think that's a good spread for Georgia coming off of the loss against Ole Miss when they lost convincingly? Tennessee has been looking good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Hasn't let up 20 points at all this season so far. What are your thoughts?
What was the spread again? Sorry, I got to pull up stats. I
Uh,
apologize.
Georgia by 10.
Georgia, Tennessee, huh? Hmm.
Playing between the hedges at Georgia.
Where's my? I don't have. I don't have anything for this. I don't have anything for either team. I want to have my Lee
Uh,
Corso moment where I put on the head. Um, I don't have anything. I don't have anything that colors either, huh? Damn, that's a bummer. I'm going Tennessee.
Hell
I'm
yeah.
going
Let's
Tennessee.
go. Let's go.
Why? Because their jerseys are fucking cool.
Hell yeah. Hell
No, I was
yeah.
looking for something kind of like orange, and I didn't really have it. I have some red, but I was going to pull that out. Um,
Um,
I
no, but
I like the Tennessee team too. I think their defense is going to play really, really well, and yeah, I love
yeah,
defense, baby.
no. My biggest thing about this game is Dylan Sampson's gonna have to run the ball efficiently and effectively. The offensive line's gonna have to block for Tennessee, and Nico Iamaleava has got to take care of the football. He's been doing it very, very well this season. Only 4 picks so far. He's got to continue to do that, and he's got to be able to hit them deep shots down the field. Now on the other side, Carson Beck has not been playing his greatest football this season so far. He has 2,488 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 12 picks. I'm gonna read you his stats from some of the big games he's played this season. All right,
Okay.
let me just pull this up right here. Okay, so season against Texas, he went for 175 yards and 3 picks. Then against Ole Miss, he went for 186 yards and 1 pick. Then against Kentucky, he went for 160 yards, no touchdowns, and no picks. The only game that I could really say that he played somebody and did well was when they played Bama. He went for 439 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he threw 3 picks.
Mm-hmm.
Carson Beck has been prone to turning the football over this year, and Georgia's been relying on the defense, to just hold them. But when your quarterback's turning the ball over, your run game isn't that effective. I don't think Georgia has a running back over 500 yards so far this season. I think it's like 400 something for Trevor Etienne, brother of Travis Etienne. Shout out to them. I
Yeah.
don't know who the backup running back is off the top of my head, but I don't think anyone's over 500 yards rushing. And when you're relying on a defense to, bend but don't break mentality to hold the other team, it's not a good look when your quarterback's turning the ball over. I think he's had 2 games where he's thrown 3 picks this year. So Carson Beck's going to have to be good with the football and not turn it over. Tennessee side, they're going to need to get turnovers. They're the opposite of what I'm saying, but no, they need to have that bend but don't break mentality, and they need to just sucker punch Georgia for the most part. And yeah, 2 things to look out for in this game. Defensive back Will Brooks for Tennessee. He's had a couple of key interceptions so far this season. Look out for him. He's a ball hawk. I'm expecting him to get at least 1 pick and 1 pass deflection. On the other side, watch that Georgia pass rush. They have a lot of guys with at least 1 sack, and I believe 4 guys with multiple sacks. They're going to be coming after Nico, and if Tennessee wants to be prepared, they got to get their pass protection down. I do have Tennessee winning this game. I am a Tennessee fan. I don't think I have a Tennessee hat anywhere near me, but I know I do have Tennessee winning.
Hell yeah.
And now we're just gonna do something fun. We're gonna look at the spreads for this week, right? All right.
Okay.
We're gonna look at some of these spreads because some of these spreads are very entertaining. So New Mexico State is at Texas A&M. Guess what the spread is?
What is it?
New Mexico State at Texas A&M, 39.5.
We love that. I love 40-point spreads.
Yep. Louisville at Stanford. Louisville's favored by 20. I love Louisville, but 20 points?
Okay.
Ah.
They'll win by
Then
22.
what?
They're going to win by 22.
22.
I'm calling it right now.
He's calling it. Then we have Virginia at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is favored by 23. Notre Dame, a team that I have not been high on, is favored by 23.
I'm not mad at it.
I guess it is Virginia.
They're still a good team.
They are.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. Now we're going to talk about Penn State. Penn State
Let's go,
at
baby.
Purdue. Penn State is favored by 28.5.
Well, that's it?
Oh,
That's it?
oh,
That's it? We're putting a 40 on them.
40.
We're putting a 40 on them.
I remember a game earlier in the year, you guys barely beat. Well, I forget what that team was. And you barely beat. It was like second or third week in the year.
Yeah, I don't know. Can't
I
tell
think
me.
it was
Because you don't remember.
Bowling Green. I think it was.
Nah.
No. Okay. Oh no. But Penn State is favored over Purdue. Purdue, I believe, is like 1-7 on the year.
Yeah.
Not looking too good. Ohio State just kicked their ass. So this should be should be, quote unquote, should be an easy win for Penn State. And then Ohio State going to Northwestern. I believe they're playing the game at Wrigley Field.
Oh, nice.
Not 100% sure on that, but no, Ohio State's favored by 30, basically 29.5.
Okay.
So that's pretty interesting. But no, I want your take on this because there have been people going around, especially one big one that came out of predicting the college football playoff, what it's going to look like. Not like right now projections, but like what the final one's going to be. All right.
Okay.
I want you to rank these losses. All right. Ole Miss losing to Kentucky, Tennessee losing to Arkansas, Alabama losing to Vandy, and Notre Dame losing to NIU. Which one is the worst? And NIU, for anyone that doesn't know, is Northern Illinois University. They did beat Notre Dame this year. Which one do you think is the worst?
I think it's between Alabama and Notre Dame.
Okay. Yeah, I have Notre Dame, then Bama, then Tennessee, then Ole Miss. That's kind of like my worst
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, that Arkansas loss was pretty bad too, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
the reason I say that is there have been a couple of people out there. I'm not gonna name drop, but he had Bama in over Tennessee. So
Okay.
I'm guessing that means Tennessee loses to Georgia, then beats Vanderbilt, and Bama I guess wins out. But my whole thing about that is just like Bama had the worst loss, and Tennessee beat Bama. I guess
Yeah.
people are forgetting that, and the reason
I think
he's
they're waiting. They're waiting for this Georgia game. I think this Georgia game is gonna be a real big because if Tennessee loses to Georgia, then I think Alabama has a case. But if Alabama or Georgia beats or if Tennessee beats Georgia, I don't think there is a case.
if Tennessee beats Georgia, as long as Tennessee doesn't slip up to Vandy, they're in the SEC championship. I
Yeah.
do believe
Yeah.
how that's going to go. But it is what it is. People have their opinions and everything, but we'll just have to wait and see how it folds out. But that leads me to my college football playoff prediction on what the bracket's going to look like in about 2.5 hours. I believe if it comes out at 8, so about 2.5 hours
Okay.
from now. So at number 1, I have Oregon. They're going to be the
Okay.
overall 1 seed. Second seed, I have Texas. Third seed, BYU. And at the 4th seed, I had them in there barely last week. They just were right outside of the actual poll. I got at SMU. They are undefeated in conference play. Right now, in my opinion, they should be in here at that 4th spot because, Miami kind of, already talked about that
Yeah.
earlier. But at
Yeah.
the 5
Yeah.
spot, I got Ohio State playing Ole Miss, who I have slotted in at the 12. That would be a hell of a game.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a hell of a game. Next set I have is number 6 Penn State hosting number 11 Boise State.
Hell yeah.
Then number 7 Tennessee in a rematch against 10 Bama, and then 8 Indiana versus number 9 Notre Dame. I feel like that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. I like it.
I feel like somehow they're gonna try and keep Georgia in there, or try and do something. But I hope Boise State gets the recognition they deserve and makes it to that 11 spot. But they'll probably just be automatically slotted at that 12 because they're probably going to be the 5th conference champion.
Yeah. Yeah. I get you.
Yeah, but no, that's about all I have. Don't really have any upset alert games that I can really predict or foresee happening. But anything can happen
Hmm.
in college football.
Yeah. Yeah. We love college football, man. We wait all day
Yes,
for
we do.
Saturday night. That's the wrong,
Hell yeah.
the wrong league, but it's fine. So, yeah. I mean, I guess
I
really
mean,
we didn't really have much else, unless you have more to talk about.
I'm just gonna, as long as the ESPN app stops being stupid, but I'm just gonna go through the game schedule again, and because I didn't think there was any like real upset potential games.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like this
Yeah,
is kind of a slow week for college football, in my opinion.
and it's been kind of the same way for the NBA. I mean, like other than the injuries, it's been like, yeah, we have Denver. Denver finally being a little bit better again. Kind of look like Jokic is the best player in the world. He's been phenomenal. He really has been phenomenal. Shea had his career high, had a 40 point or 45 point game last night. He's been phenomenal, but it's been like with so many injuries, it's been kind of just kind of a dull week. So we didn't really have much to talk about.
You know, the only game I could foresee potentially being an upset is um, Pitt over Clemson. Clemson's favored by 10. Arkansas, Texas, but Texas is probably going to beat them by 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's not too many games that I could really, call out being an upset. Maybe Florida over LSU. Um, but yeah, no, College Game Day is in Athens, Georgia. So if you do make it a College Game Day, shout out to you guys. Um, the whole panel's probably going to go Georgia. Hopefully, Pat McAfee takes Tennessee. We love Pat McAfee. He's bringing energy to College Game Day. But oh
Yeah.
yeah, the last thing I do want to talk about this this rookie quarterback room for the NFL has been very interesting. Jane Daniels is still, I guess, still that number one. But now, where do
Yeah.
you put Caleb Williams in relation to Bo Nix and Drake May? Because both of them have been balling this year. Bo Nix almost beat the Chiefs, and Drake
Yeah.
May, they did come out and win. I forget who they beat, but they did come out and win their game. So how do you have that ranking right now? Because I don't think there's a clear cut number two now. I feel like it's got a little bit murky as the season has progressed.
Didn't the Patriots just beat
They
yeah, they
I
beat
for
the Bears. That was the
Yeah,
game. Yeah,
okay.
they
I couldn't remember exactly who it was.
honestly, I still this might be a bit of a hot take now. I still think Caleb Williams is the second best quarterback so far this year. I do. And I just think one, I think they played against Washington, who's been a really, really good team this year. Arizona's been playing pretty well too. And then New England, you know, that's kind of a rough loss. That only putting up 3 points is a rough loss. But it's apparent the Bears have an awful offensive line. It is dreadfully bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes I watch them and I'm wondering just what is happening on offense. Like I don't understand their offensive scheme sometimes either. Like there was a play where Caleb Williams snapped the ball and the whole offensive line and him shifted to the left and let two free rushers right in the right side and sack Caleb Williams. And it's like I don't know what's happening. And it's like I understand like the past 3 weeks he's not thrown a touchdown and he hasn't thrown an interception. It's just been 0-0-0-0-0-0 the past 3 weeks. And it's like that, obviously it's not he was had a really, really good couple game stretch, and people were like, oh, okay, this is what we're finally waiting to see. Again, I put some of it on him, holding the ball a little bit too long, missing some open receivers. And there's even that stupid report that came out. I don't know if I even fully believe it, because it's one of those like off-brand NFL report sources where like they're usually right about some stuff, but it's like sometimes you dramatize stuff for more clicks. With that, some Bears veterans players wanted Caleb Williams bench for Tyler Badgett, and I'm like, why? Why? Like literally, why? What does that do for this team?
Okay.
Like they're not going to be a playoff team, so why not have Caleb Williams play? You know what I mean? Like that's why I'm like, whatever. I still I like Caleb Williams still. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
yes, it's been kind of rough, but he's a rookie quarterback in the NFL. Let's not act like we were expecting him to come out here and be a top level player. We got spoiled last year. CJ Stroud was really, really amazing as a rookie, but you can't expect that out of every single rookie quarterback. You know what I mean? And like even Jaden Daniels has had his moments where it's like you can tell this is a rookie quarterback, and it's like I I don't know. I just think it's weird that people the first couple weeks of the season everybody was super shitting on Caleb Williams. And then he had like a 4 game stretch where he was really good and everybody was super super high on him. And now he's had a couple of rough games and everybody's backed onto the basement on him. You know what I mean? Like it's a rookie quarterback.
So watching Caleb Williams and how bad his offensive line is, okay,
Mm-hmm.
does it make you rethink on Bryce Young because the Panthers are
100%.
yeah? Because I mean, a lot of people were just like, oh, Bryce Young is not the guy, X, Y, and Z. It's kind of just like, well, if you look at it full scale, he took a lot of shit because
Yeah.
everyone thought he'd come in and absolutely turn this Panthers organization over immediately, and now we're looking at not Jay Daniels, Caleb Williams, and seeing what he's going through, and everyone thought, oh, they got this great offense, they got this and that. He's going through the exact same problems Bryce Young has been going through. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I feel like there are some people that need to apologize to Bryce Young
You
for the amount of shit they threw at him.
Yeah, you can go back through every single one of our podcasts since Bryce Young has been in the league, and I promise you, you will never find one moment where I was saying that Bryce Young was a bad player or we should give up on him. I've never been in that boat. And I don't think either one of us have really ever been in
No,
that boat. Like,
no,
there's been points where we've been critical of how he's played, but like, I don't think either one of us have, I think you can go we can go back to the episode where he did get benched, and we were both shocked that he got benched for Andy Dalton. You know what I mean? It's like, these are young quarterbacks, and that Panthers team is, even worse than this Bears team is. The Panthers team is just a very bad team, and they're not doing a very good job building that team. And it's like, I think Bryce Young deserved a lot of leeway. And again, like I said, he had his moments where he was bad, and he got his rightful criticism for being bad. But like, he doesn't have an offensive line. They've gone through, like, they paid Miles Sanders to be a running back, hasn't really played. Chuba Hubbard's been pretty decent. They just gave him a contract. They don't really have a lot of receiver help because they traded away DJ Moore to get Bryce Young. So it's like, okay, you traded a number one receiver to get a quarterback who now doesn't have a number one wide receiver. You bring in a 40-year-old Adam Thielen to be his number one receiver. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, they've done nothing to help Bryce Young at all, I feel like. And it's like that's one thing about and this is all sports. So like, I pretty much follow the NFL and basketball, the two major sports. So maybe it's different in hockey and baseball because it takes players usually longer to get to especially MLB. It takes them a couple years before they're really in the major league. But like, we've gotten spoiled with some like phenomenal rookies that like it changes everybody's expectations on what a rookie is supposed to be.
yeah,
Like, you have the Luka Doncic, the Trae Youngs in the NBA who've came out and just been phenomenal rookies. So now if a rookie point guard isn't good, everybody calls him a bust. You know what I mean? In the NFL, like, CJ Stroud was fantastic last year. This year, their offensive line's been rough, and CJ Stroud has not looked as good as he was last year because they haven't been that hot of a team. And it's like, you can't judging a player within the first. I'm trying to remember who said it, because somebody had a quote that you're not done being a rookie in the NFL until you've played 20 games, which is technically over a season. So it's like, you get yourself fully enveloped. Caleb Williams has played nine games, and
yeah.
Bryce Young has probably played all about 20, maybe a little bit over 20. You know what I mean? Because he was benched for a couple of games. So it's like, these guys are really still getting into their full NFL careers while being on bad teams. A lot of people like overstepped. I think a lot of people, including us, kind of thought maybe overhyped the Bears offseason a little bit because they brought in a lot of players, but they also brought in a lot of players that were like past their primes and maybe just not as good. And this Bears team is definitely better than they've been in the past years, but they're not a great team by any means. And this Panthers team, like I said, they're just not good. They haven't been good. So it's like, I think it's super unfair to like come on these to like pause. I think it's super unfair to like come after these rookie quarterbacks so harshly when you got to look at the rest of the team and like, hey, they aren't good. Because like, you look at Jaden Daniels and you're like, he's been phenomenal, kind of similar to what we saw from CJ Stroud last year. But the Commanders team is just genuinely a much better team than the Bears or the Panthers.
Yeah, and the other thing that I think is hurting it in the NBA and in the NFL is you see a lot of these guys, go into the draft prematurely.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like Anthony Richardson, I think he spent 2 years at Florida, or I think it was like 1 or 2 years
Mm-hmm.
at Florida, entered the draft. I know it differs for different people, but I still think, especially the quarterback position, you should stay in there for like 4 years. You know what I mean? Obviously, that's my
Yeah.
own personal take and everything, but you need to develop as a quarterback before you
Mm-hmm.
actually go to the NFL. Because if you get drafted like Bryce Young, I wish he would have stayed for another year or two if he could have. You know what I mean? Because I'm not 100%
Mm-hmm.
sure on his eligibility, but if he could have stayed for another year or two, I wish he would have, because it would have helped him develop even more. Like, you got to figure, we're dealing with guys that are like 19, 20, and 21. Now, we're still dealing with extremely young guys, but then we look at a guy like a Joe Burrow coming out of college, or a Hendon Hooker, or somebody that's older, 24 years old, and say, oh, well, they're not much of a rookie, this and that. Well, they're a seasoned college veteran who brings some type of skill level that the rookie or the 20-year-old doesn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he could have been through more bigger games. You know what I mean? He could have
Mm-hmm.
went to the national championship game compared to a guy who didn't. You know, that's a different
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere. And obviously, where you play, the conference you play in could also bring in a little bit of effect. Whether you're playing in front of 20,000 or 100,000, obviously brings in an account a little bit. But like I said, players should stay in college a little bit longer to develop more. Because college, in my opinion, colleges do a better job at developing talent than the pros do. That's just my personal
Yeah.
take. Because the pros, they want you to turn around and perform right away. We see it sometimes of a guy progressing and finally getting that shot, but we see it more in college football of that no-name wide receiver, that no-name running back that his senior year busts onto the scene, has an amazing year, like a Blake Corum. Blake Corum
Mm-hmm.
busted onto the scene like he did, and bam! Now I believe he's a backup running back for the Rams. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
like seeing that development stories from college, and then you get drafted, second, third, fourth, fifth round, and then you
Yep.
get into the NFL team. It's like, damn, this guy's better than what everyone thought because he stayed in college and got developed more. Now, obviously, I
Yep.
know college isn't for everybody, but it comes to a certain point where it's just like you got to develop your talents when you can before it's too late. And some guys get to the NFL or the NBA, and it's a little bit too late to develop X, Y, and Z.
Especially depending what team you go to too,
Yes,
because some teams are much better at developing than other teams are.
yes.
Um, and you mentioned earlier about like the Anthony Richardson benching. I I hate it, man. Why are we benching our 22-year-old second year player in favor of a 39-year-old Joe Flacco? Like I I don't, and I understand people have some concerns about like maybe his maturity and like he tapped himself out of the game because he was tired and like that wasn't okay. Like that's something you're not supposed to do, and I fully get that. But you're just now continuing to stunt his development. He's constantly pulled out, starting, pulled out. Then he starts, and then he get injured. Like he, I don't even know. Has he played 10 games yet in his career?
I
Because he only played what 5 or so last year, then was out for the rest of the year.
He might be at 10. He might be
I,
like around that, like 8 to like 12, like still around that threshold. But like,
because like, and this is like midway through his second year. He
yeah,
just like, and again, he had a season-ending injury last year, so that is what that is. He had some injuries earlier this season, but like I don't understand what the Colts are trying to see with this. They're not going to be a good team. Why are we? I don't know. It upsets me to see because Joe Flacco hasn't been good these past 2 games either. I
no.
understand he had his run last year with the Browns, and it's like people were like, "Oh, like Joe Flacco still got it," and like he was fine last year. He had some good minutes with the Browns last year, but like I, he was consciously put out there to be the starting quarterback, like the past 2 games. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't, oh, Anthony Richardson's hurt, so Joe Flacco's going to play. This is no. We're sitting down our 22-year-old second year player for a 39-year-old Joe Flacco to go out there and throw 3 picks and lose the game. I, I just don't understand it, man. It's such a weird situation there.
And that leads into my point. What is Anthony Richardson's career looking like if he would have stayed an extra year or two at Florida, or if he would have transferred out and went somewhere else? We could be
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at Anthony Richardson in an entirely different situation. He could have developed, the touch pass across the middle, short and everything, dialed in that long ball a little bit, and we already know he had the athleticism with that with the massive arm. We could be looking at a more developed player that, depending on where he goes in the next year, or he could still be in college right now. Because I believe he was only in his second year at Florida. So I think, yeah, he would still have 2 years eligibility. Just wonder how
Um.
different everything would have been.
Yeah. Because I mean, even coming out of the draft, it was made very clear in all the scouting reports that Anthony Richardson's a very athletic but raw talent. Like he has a lot of potential. It's just not a lot of fine tuned development. And we've seen him. The dude's got a cannon of an arm. Like
Yes.
he's athletic. He's fast. He's got cannon of an arm. It's just about like decision making and accuracy is like literally the 2 biggest things for him. And it's like that's something that again he's only 22.
Yeah.
So like he's literally unfortunately younger than us. You know what I mean? It's
He's
kind of
as
weird to
old as
think
me.
about.
He's as old as me.
Okay, my bad. I'm 23.
Old
But
head.
yeah, I know, right? Like this is kind of a stupid thing to think about in terms of the NFL, but like but male like frontal lobes in your brain doesn't fully develop until you're like 25, 26. So like, and that's why I think you see a lot of these older quarterbacks that come into the league are just more developed because they're just also as human beings more developed.
Yep.
Not even a football sense, but like just as a person, as a human being. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like I think you give Anthony Richardson another year or two to get closer to that 24, 25 year mark. I think just not again. I think as a person and your brain chemistry will mature and develop, which I then think will transfer onto the field as well.
Yeah, and like I said, and to your point of bringing that up, to where they don't mature to their 24, 25. Could you imagine if he stays in the league, if he would be college right now and he got the extra 2 years of development at
I'm trying to
Florida
see
or
here.
at wherever he would have been? That could have been massive in his progression for, developing more of a touch pass,
Yeah,
intermediate routes and close routes. Just because the athleticism was there, there's no doubt about it. He was going to keep it. I don't know. It sucks seeing that, but it also comes to a point to where the people around these young people, like the inner circle of these young athletes that are thinking about going into the draft, need to have a reality check that, hey, the grass is not always greener on the other side. It may be worth
yeah,
taking another year or two in college to then be able
yeah.
to then go pro and be more developed. But obviously, you run the risk of getting injured in college and then obviously possibly not making it to the NFL. But it's kind of just like sometimes going in as a raw, uncut talent isn't always the best idea for everybody.
Yeah, and yeah, to your point, I pulled up. He played 4 games his freshman year, was redshirted, so he was a redshirt freshman in 2021, played 8 games, and then was a redshirt sophomore in 2022, played 12 games, and then declared for the draft. So he declared as a redshirt sophomore. So technically, he would have got 2 more seasons in college, which would have, I guess,
This draft coming
he
up.
would be in this draft
Yep.
class coming up. Okay, okay. I mean, it's all speculation at this point. Like we can't know for sure. You know what I mean? Like being, unfortunately, like sometimes college football is such a free and loose pass heavy offense. Maybe we don't know how he would have developed. You know what I mean? We don't know if he would have picked any bad habits up. But yeah, no, it's just you never know. I mean, but then again, if you're a redshirt sophomore and you're projected to go in the top 3 rounds of the NFL draft, it's kind of hard to say no to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
yeah.
there was a guy back in 1998 who was
Oh boy.
projected to be a first round pick, and he talked to some coaches and everything, and he stayed from because he was thinking about getting drafted his junior year. He then stayed for his senior year, and then got drafted the next year. And it was the people in his inner circle that were just like, "Yo, dude, don't do it." You know what I mean? Like, stay for the extra year, develop a little bit more, get better. And if something were to happen, now you have your 4 years in college. Now you have the degree that you can fall back on if need be. And that man was Peyton Manning, one of the best
Mm-hmm.
quarterbacks to ever suit up. So
And
obviously
yeah,
it is Peyton Manning, but at the end of the
yeah.
day, maybe
And
that
you
extra
also make
year.
a good
So
point. You made a comment there, which I think plays in part on maybe sometimes why players leave early. Is that if something happens?
yep,
So like say, and again, thank God it didn't. But what happens if Peyton Manning goes back his senior season and tears his ACL or tears his Achilles? Back in the '90s, tearing your ACL or your Achilles that was career ending.
yep, you're
It's not
done.
like the medicine was today. So it's like that's always the other side of it too. Like, what if Anthony Richardson comes back for his junior year, screws up his knee, and now he goes from a potential top 2 round draft pick to a late round pick? You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like there's always both sides. You got to look at that. You can go back for another year and develop, but then you get injured. And again, with Anthony Richardson's injury history, maybe he saw he's like, okay, I can get to the league, I can get financial security now because my body isn't very good at holding up. So you know what I mean?
yeah. There's
And
always pros
to
and
some
cons
players,
with all of it.
yeah, 100%. And for some players in the NFL, and well, I think for every player in the NFL, they want the financial security. You know what I mean? Now, I think they love football too. I don't think they're just playing for the money, but it's like at the end of the day, this is like generational wealth they're getting for their families, and it's like I get it, man. If I had the opportunity right now to be a second-round draft pick or take my chances to play another year and possibly get hurt, I might take the money. It's like I know I'm gonna get in while I'm playing good right now. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna get my money and have my family set up for the rest of our lives.
But now here's the nuance to like the current day football because of NIL.
Yeah.
Like some of these guys are getting paid a good amount of money.
Was Anthony Richardson? I don't think. I think
That might
Anthony
have been
Richardson was
right
a year too
before.
late.
That might
Yeah,
have
I was
been
gonna say he might
right
have been
before.
a year too early
But
for
like,
that.
but let's put into perspective. I can't think of a guy that forego, but like let's just say Shadur Sanders, right?
Mm.
let's just say he's a redshirt junior right now. He could go to the draft, go to a shit team, get paid this much money, or he could stay in college at Colorado, get paid probably the equivalent of that, or maybe even a little bit more, because we don't know how much these college athletes are making. Like I said, I'm not against it, but
I think he did declare, didn't he? I think he just
yeah,
did.
I think he's declaring, but it's just a scenario,
Oh,
because
100%. No, I
then
get
it's
what you're
like
saying.
he stays for another year. He's making exactly what he would make as X amount draft pick, and now he accumulates that money while not needing to spend a whole lot, and then now, bam, he's in the draft next year. You know what I mean? The money's still there, but
I don't think
obviously
he'd make it nearly as much because first round picks are making a lot of money in the NFL.
you'd be surprised at how much some of these top college athletes are making,
That's fair.
especially in
And
football.
he's also Dion's son, so that's
Yeah,
yeah.
prime
Um,
time.
that's right. But I mean, yeah, that's kind of what we had to talk about today. I mean, not too much, but hell, we got over an hour still anyway. So
Yeah.
we,
Also, one more thing.
okay,
Dallas Cowboys tank, right? Get a top 5 draft pick.
yeah.
They
We still
fire
got a
Mike
long way to
McCarthy.
go. We're still.
Yeah,
I don't even think
yeah.
we're top 10 still, and we're 3-6.
You guys tank the rest of the season, get the top 5 draft pick, fire McCarthy, draft Shadur, and hire Dion.
I no.
No.
It's just the Cowboys with Jerry Jones are such a media disaster class that bringing in Shadur and Deion Sanders would just add to that. It would just be such a media disaster. Like it just because we already have everybody look. People love them when the Cowboys lose. They hate the Cowboys so much that they love when they lose. Now you're adding Deion and Shadur Sanders, two of the most hated people in college football, to this Dallas Cowboys team. I think you're gonna have even fans in Dallas hate the team more than they already do right now because of everything going on. Like I just this team has so many holes. Drafting a quarterback first round would just be idiotic.
No, I believe.
I think if anybody from a team, I think there's a legitimate possibility Travis Hunter ends up on the team.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if we're talking realistically, if you guys do get a top 5 pick, I do think you guys should take Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
But then
I think it's receiver. I think we got to go receiver first round, no matter what. Honestly, at this
I
point
was
in
gonna
time.
I was gonna say I think it's Travis Hunter, and then if you can't get him, I think you get Ashton Genty.
Yeah, I
If
love
he
Ashton Genty, and I think he'd be great for the team. But I do think they would pass on him to take a receiver because we don't have another receiver outside of CD Lamb, and
oh
like
I don't
I think free agency wise, you might be able to bring in one or two decent fill in receiver or running backs because like Rico Dottle has had his moments where it's like okay maybe you can pair him with another guy and like have something. Outside of CD, we literally like Jalen Tolbert and Jordan Brooks are just not good. Like
yeah
Tolbert's had his moments, and I know he had the game-winning touchdown against you guys. It was like you have your moments where it's like Tolbert could be your 3 or 4. I know, but it's like Tolbert could be your wide receiver 3 or 4. But like it's just we don't. Brandon Cooks is injured. It's like, and he's also old. We literally have no threat other than Ferguson at tight end outside of C. Lamb.
now draft time comes, you guys have, let's just say, a top 5 pick. You guys get
Mm-hmm.
Travis Hunter. What do you feel about the Cowboys then trading? And let's just say we go into the draft. It's about like pick 20 to 22, right? End of the
Mm-hmm.
first round. How much against would you be if Dallas then traded up to about 20 to 25 and took Ashton Genty if
I
he's
mean, I
still
would love
there?
it, but again, at the same time, we have so many holes that giving up picks is something we really can't be doing. We
Okay.
need as many picks as possible. Like I would love the idea if we could end up with Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. That would be two great additions. But then it's like, okay, now we're not addressing the defense like at all. We're not addressing the offensive line at all because we're trading all of our picks for Genty, Travis. Well, we draft Travis Hunter. We're going to move picks to get to Genty. We moved a 4th round pick to get Trey Lance. We moved the 4th round pick already to get Mingo. Like we've already moved picks, and then they move more to get him back into the first round. Like the two of them would be fantastic, but then we're still leaving gaping holes because we're giving up other potential picks.
I actually have another thing I'll ask you. If you guys do draft Travis Hunter, do you think he's more of a wide receiver or do you think he plays corner? Because it's very hard to see him being in the NFL and playing both wide receiver and corner at a
He
high
won't.
level like he's doing.
Dallas won't let him. Dallas will not let him play both. And I think they're gonna have him play wide receiver because they have Trayvon Diggs, obviously. Deron Bland hasn't played at all this season. They're hoping to have him back next season. And we've had like Jordan Lewis is a free agent, but Jordan Lewis has been like just a consistent fine corner for the Cowboys. I think there's a world where they resign him for another year, 1 or 2 year deal. Like I think with an addition with Deron Bland coming back, and then like Keelan Carson has had some moments where he's been good and some bad. Like I just think their cornerback room, fully healthy, has some pieces they can move around. Our Rodgers. I don't think Brandon Cooks won't be on the team next year. Jalen Tolbert is going to be our next receiver after CeeDee Lamb. Like I think our wide receiver hole is such a gaping hole right now that like we can fully healthy have a better secondary than a receiver room.
That I'm behind that. I dig that. The other thing I was thinking is like you play Travis Hunter as your wide receiver too next to CD, right?
Yeah.
But you have packages or like certain formations that you run maybe once in a while that if you need an extra DB or if a DB's tired, then it's like, hey Travis, go play 3 or 4 snaps on the defensive side, and then you bring him right back out and then get him ready for the offense and kind of like as a, I shouldn't say Iron Man, but kind of just like that. Hey, we need a couple good defensive snaps from you. Go out there and cover this guy or do this or that, just to get you through a drive.
I think you're also just putting too much faith into the Cowboys front office and coaching
I mean,
staff.
I'm just trying to use logic, if I'm being honest, but that is
Exactly.
something
That's the
that is
problem.
something
Exactly.
that it seems like nobody in the Cowboys organization has, other than maybe Micah, because Micah was that interview with Micah about McCarthy. I don't know, it's above my pay grade. I'm not commenting on it.
Bro, I'm literally there was multiple clips. CeeDee Lamb lost that he had that a potential touchdown. It wouldn't have changed the game. We still got our
Oh
ass
yeah,
kicked by the Eagles. But he literally lost the ball in the sun because this dumbass Jerry. I went on this tangent last
yep.
week about Jerry Jones. I'm not going to do it this game or this episode, but Jerry Jones built the stadium and had the big ass windows east to west. The sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So when the sun is setting in the evening games, the sun, you literally showed multiple clips. The sun shines right through those windows and covers half the field. And there was even a clip from a couple years ago where Cedric Wilson lost the ball in the sun. And they literally on the broadcast, because I think it was a game against San Francisco. Cedric Wilson lost, he turned around for a curl route, and then just the ball flew right past him because he had his hands up. He literally could not see.
Yeah.
And I remember Tony Romo was calling that game, and they panned the camera to the same direction that Wilson was facing towards the line of scrimmage, and the entire camera just got blinded because of the sun. Like, even the players cannot see. What they literally cannot see if they're facing towards the line of scrimmage, if the sun's setting through that window. And they use curtains or they like black it out when they have concerts there. So I don't understand why they can't do that for games. I don't get it. And then Jerry Jones makes a comment after the game. It's like, I spent $1.3 billion. You want me to just tear it down and build a new one? Motherfucker, I want you dead. I'm telling you honest.
Whoa!
I want him gone, bro. I know
Disclaimer.
it's a shitty thing to.
Disclaimer: he does not want him dead. He just wants him out of the Cowboys organization, just in case anything would happen. Now we're trying to cover your ass here. Pause. But
Obviously, but like no, it's just like he every week he says something more stupid than the week before, and it's like it's just
it's Jerry's world.
It's Jerry's world. We're all living in it, and he doesn't care because he's still making money, and
Yep.
people are still packing out that stadium even though we're bad, and fans in the stadium hate the team, but they're still going to pack out the stadium, and that's the problem. Is that they're still going to make all the money because people love the Cowboys, and they're such like a media driven team that like Jerry he's going to get pissed off in these interviews and he's going to threaten people and make dumbass comments. But at the end of the day, that bottom line is still looking fantastic. So he doesn't really care.
Oh,
he
no.
doesn't care at all.
All he wants
so
is
it's
the
like
money.
yeah, exactly, and it's just. And Stephen Jones isn't really much better. So as long as the Cowboys are in a Jones family name, we're just not going to be a serious team, and it's unfortunate. It really is, and that's all I'm going to go in that.
Yeah, I can't blame you on that. But just seen something on ESPN. Colorado is favored to win the Big 12 right now.
Okay, shout out Colorado, man.
Shout out
Shout out
Colorado. Shout
Colorado.
out Dion, Travis Hunter, Shiloh Sanders, Shadur
Mm-hmm.
Sanders, and everyone else on that team. Those are the only ones
Yep.
that I really know because I don't follow Colorado. But that'd be crazy. Colorado going from the season they had last year to college football playoff team.
Yeah.
That'd be
All
crazy.
right. Well, you guys know at the end of these episodes, Levi does his weekly picks. But because this episode comes, or like the TikTok doesn't come out till Sunday morning, we do our Thursday predictions at the end of the podcast. But because we forgot to do it earlier, before we get into these picks, we're going to hear a word from our partner. I am proud to announce we are partnered with Dubby Energy Drink.
Dubby was formulated to give you focus and energy with no jitters or crash, all while tasting amazing.
If you go to the link in the description, it will take you to our sponsored flavor, Push and Punch.
Use code TIMEOUTJG, that is TIMEOUTJG, at checkout for 10% off your order.
Thank you to Dubby Energy for partnering with us, and back to the episode. And now that we've heard a word from our partner, we're going to have Levi predict our Thursday night football game, which is actually a very, very good, hopefully it might be a really, really good game. We have a fight for the division lead in the NFC East. We have the Commanders and the Eagles. Thursday night football, who do you have?
Ooh, this one's tough. Ooh, I normally I would go Eagles, even though I don't like them. But in
Yeah.
this particular case, Jane Daniels just lost a close one to Pittsburgh at home.
Mm-hmm.
Who's at home? That's another. Is it Eagles
The
or
Eagles.
Eagles are at
Eagles.
home? Jane Daniels just lost a close one to the Steelers at his house. He's feeling a little motivated. That defense is going to be a little motivated. I think they go into Financial Field and they get a convincing win and show the
All
NFC
right.
that they are for real and that Washington is here to play.
All right. You heard it here first. He has Commanders. I like the pick. I'll go Commanders as well with you. I like that. Is there anything else you want to talk about in this episode?
Not really. Don't have anything out. Go check out the Cloud Report over on
Thank you.
his YouTube channel.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun doing that. And then I have my other 2K videos and some other videos I like putting out. It's just a lot of fun. That'll do it for this week's episode of Time Out with J&G. And we'll see you guys next week. Peace.